Hey guys, this is Kayla, your math teacher. I really hope you're enjoying your time at home and you're resting up and that we'll come back to campus ready to finish out the summer. This is your video math lesson of the week, and we're going to be talking about your trip to Washington, D.C. at the end of the summer. Washington, D.C. is awesome. I've been there a couple times myself, and what people might not realize is there's actually a lot of math history as well as actual American history involved in this city. We're going to be talking about the geometry and the math that went into planning the design of the city. And we're going to have a quiz over this video when we come back to campus next week, so make sure you're paying attention as we go. All right, let's go back in time and see how math influenced this city. At the end of the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of discussion about the establishment of a national capital for the United States, now that we were our own country. Without a national capital, a lot of decisions were up in the air, and the United States had to hold its famous Continental Congress in 8 different cities. The potential location of the national capital was a matter of heated debate between interests in the North and South until about 1790. Finally, the precise location was left to the discretion of George Washington, our first president. George Washington chose 10 square miles on the Potomac River between Maryland and Virginia, partly due to the commercial potential along the river. Washington chose Pierre Charles L'Enfant, a former volunteer in the American Revolutionary Army, to design the city. L'Enfant was an engineer, architect, and urban designer who designed the setting for Washington's inauguration. Thomas Jefferson provided L'Enfant with maps of European cities for inspiration, and L'Enfant incorporated ideas from Versailles, France, and London, England. Take a really good look at these 2 pictures, because once I show you the design for DC, I think you'll see a lot of elements from those. L'Enfant initially designed Washington, D.C., so the city plan focused on the Capitol and the presidential residence, and also so the intersections could be the locations of monuments and fountains. L'Enfant's design centered around a right triangle, which had the presidential mansion as the northwest corner, the Capitol building as the southeast corner, and the Washington Monument as the southwest corner. The famous Pennsylvania Avenue plays the role of hypotenuse of the right triangle. Fun fact, the angle formed at the Capitol building measures 19.5 degrees. Around the triangle, you'll see grids of rectangular blocks and other diagonal roads, which are called Grand Avenues, and all named after the original states of the Union. Here's a better picture of the pattern formed by the Grand Avenues. And just as a reference point, here's that beautiful right triangle we talked about. As you can see, these Grand Avenues make a functional yet aesthetically pleasing design, much like Versailles and London's designs. So really take a minute to appreciate the patterns shown here. This is the design for DC, obviously. Now, I think it's really cool because none of these lines are perfectly parallel, but they intersect in really cool ways all over the city, so that even though things are not perfectly symmetrical, they still make a really nice looking design. We can almost see like transversals coming through here, like if you do have a set of parallel lines with another intersecting line coming through both of them. And all kinds of supplementary angles, such as right here and right here, because they make a straight line. Complementary angles, vertical angles, adjacent angles. Be really interested to look at the math behind this design. But anyways, I'll stop geeking out. So here's another fun fact for you. When planning out the design of the right triangle in 1793, Thomas Jefferson, who was Secretary of State at the time, measured out the location of the triangle's 90-degree vertex and marked it with a wooden post. This post stayed there for 11 years, but was replaced in 1804 by a more substantial marker, which came to be known as the Jefferson Pier. L'Enfant's original design for the city had called for an equestrian statue of George Washington as the original Washington Monument, but it was never actually made, or at least not right then. A later design for the memorial featured a massive obelisk, just like we have today, but the ground was too unstable for it to be located at the intended spot. Instead, construction of the Washington Monument began at a site a short distance to the south and east of the exact 90-degree spot. Here is a picture that was taken in 1888 after the Washington Monument was completed. As you can see, the Washington Monument is off-center of its intended location. But from this point forward, this error in location would affect the geometry of the city in many ways. So hopefully, whenever you guys visit the city, I know you guys are going to go see the White House and the Washington Monument. So I really hope you take a minute to observe how off it will be. How it was supposed to be perfectly aligned and it was too unstable to make that happen. Years after L'Enfant's plan was put into action, there was a desire to restore symmetry to the nation's capital. After some of the swampland after the swampland on the coast of the Potomac had been salvaged, the locations of the Lincoln and Jefferson memorials were strategically designed to help achieve that symmetry. As you can see in this map of today's DC, the location of these monuments and the parks around them use perpendicular lines, perpendicular meaning they meet at 90-degree angles, and reflective symmetry to make the layout symmetrical once again and aesthetically pleasing while kind of distracting from the off-centerness of the Washington Monument. Again, as a point of reference, here is where the Washington Monument should have been built, roughly, and that beautiful triangle anchor. Okay, so when you guys visit the city, you guys will be right in the middle of this. You guys will visit the White House, you'll visit the Washington Monument, you'll come down this leg of the triangle, you'll visit the Capitol building. I know you'll visit the Lincoln Memorial and the reflecting pool. And I believe you guys are going to go on the monument tour, which is all around this tidal basin here, ending at the Jefferson Memorial. So you guys will literally be in the center of this very purposeful, very geometric design. Okay. So as we wrap up this little lesson here, I really hope you guys try to observe this symmetry and geometry when you visit these landmarks for yourself. Washington, D.C. is a fantastic city, full of history and fun facts, and I really hope you enjoy your time there.